rising up to explore the difficult topics of real life. Join us as we proclaim the good, the true, and the beautiful with the simple truth of Jesus Christ and His holy Catholic Church through Scripture, tradition, and the Catechism. And now, your host, Jim Havens.
It is great to be back with you on The Simple Truth, where we proclaim the life-giving reality of Jesus and His Catholic Church. We consecrate everything to the Sacred Heart of Jesus through the Immaculate Heart of Mary and the pure, strong heart of Saint Joseph. It is Wholeness and Healing Monday, fighting to cultivate the health of the whole person, mind, body, and soul, with our co-host, my lovely wife, Becky Havens. She is a Catholic wife and mother with a passion and calling to educate people about the importance of caring for our bodies that the Lord has blessed us with by living a healthy lifestyle. She's the author of Toxin Free in 12 Months, a 12-month guide to help you transition over to a toxin-free lifestyle. Also wrote a boycott list of over 300 pro-abortion companies. You can get them both for free. Learn more at her website, safehavensmama.com. Our topic today, as suggested by several of you, Homeopathy 101. So we did put our survey out this morning. We're going to get to that. It is best to call in, though, if you want to get your comment or question across. That's the only way to guarantee it. We'll put our number out in just a little bit, but also by way of introduction, understand that we're not doctors, we're not scientists, we're just regular people looking to live well and raise our family. We believe in objective truth, in asking questions when things don't make sense. We're not giving any medical advice. We simply want to offer a forum here today. There are a few things we know, still a ton we don't know. We do have personal experiences, and we know that you do as well. So we would love to hear from you as we go today on this topic, homeopathy, which I have to tell you, I don't know a whole lot about going into this. One of the first questions we asked in our survey is, have you ever used homeopathy? And I would probably, if that survey question came across to me, say no, I think. But then I'd turn to my wife and ask, have I? Because I know she gives me stuff all the time, and I'm not sure what I'm taking or what she's giving me based on various ailments here and there. So is homeopathy something that we've been a part of? Well, I asked her before the show, and she told me, yes, we have partaken of homeopathy. So I'm going to learn more about that as we go today. We're also going to get into some of the questions, some of the concerns about this, address that as well today. And so, yeah, there's a lot around this topic. I probably don't even know much about what is really surrounding all of this, but we're going to dive into it, and we're going to have a great forum here today with a special guest. Our guest today is Emma Banks. She is a Catholic homeopath, and we're going to bring her in just a second. But first, Becky, anything you want to say by way of introduction today?
Yes, it's great to be with you. And I think this is a great topic because, I was sharing with Emma before, I really don't know a lot about it. I know I've used it. I know it's been recommended for a lot of different things. But as far as where it comes from and how it works and any controversy that surrounds it, I'm just unfamiliar. So I'm excited to learn right along with you, Jim.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, we have a genuine Catholic homeopath, which is important, I think, especially with some of the concerns we're going to talk about as we get going today. But Emma Banks, thank you again for being with us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. I am a homeopath. I'm classically trained, if that means anything to some of your listeners who have requested more on the topic. I trained in Montreal for 4 years. I've also trained as a nurse, so I have some background in both conventional and homeopathic medicine, and I'm a practicing homeopath. I see clients all over the world online.
All right, terrific, wonderful. And so when we put this survey out there, the first question we asked was, have you ever used homeopathy? Or homeopathy is the way to say it, I think. And so 57% said yes, they had. We also asked, have you ever consulted a homeopath? And this was right down the middle. 50% said yes, 50% said no. I'm kind of surprised that it was so high, but yeah, that's interesting. So a lot of people know something about this already, are either using homeopathy or consulting a homeopath. And then we also asked folks, do you know what homeopathy is? And if so, how would you define it? I think this is a good question to find out what do people really know about it? What do they not know about it? And so many people just admitted, no, they don't really know anything about it, or I'm not really sure. We had a friend chime in from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who said, somewhat, not sure that I could define it. And then another said, I think I do, but I want to learn more. And then we started to get a little further. One said self-healing, ? Another said using natural remedies. Another said alternative health care without toxic chemicals. Another said using natural remedies to treat ailments, which includes using remedies that can cause similar symptoms as a cure. Another said natural remedies in the form of tinctures and sublingual, which I have no idea what either of those things is. And then one person went a little bit deeper. I think this is probably closer to it, but we'll have Emma let us know. And this person said, yes, it is based on the concept that like cures, like homeopathic remedies are dilutions of various substances that have specific properties associated with them. The idea is to expose the body to these dilutions to help bring about balance and healing from within. Remedies are typically matched based on an individual's particular symptom presentation, as opposed to prescribing based on a medical diagnosis. So I don't know how much that lines up with it, but Emma, you let us know, how would you define homeopathy?
Yeah, that last one was a great description of homeopathy. So it is based on the law of like cures like. And this is a law, the law of similars, that was that Hippocrates told us about. So it's from quite a long time ago. But in the about 250 years ago, a doctor called Samuel Hahnemann invented the new infinitesimal dose form of homeopathy that we use today. So I actually wanted to talk about this because it's one of the reasons that people associate homeopathy with New Age, or when Catholic. I know your audience is Catholic, so I want to bring this up right away because it's one of the questions that we get a lot in the beginning, because people are not really sure what homeopathy is. So homeopathy is based on the law of like cures like, and what that means is that a medicine that causes certain symptoms in a healthy person is going to cure those same symptoms in a sick person. Would you like me to repeat that?
Sure, yes, please do.
So, for example, one of our medicines is allium cepa. Allium cepa is the Latin name for onion. And some people, when cutting onions, they have the runny nose, the runny eyes, their eyes get kind of red. So allium cepa can cause this kind of symptom. It's one of our best medicines for in seasonal allergies. You get the runny eyes, the red eyes, the sneezing, the runny nose. So this is an example of like cures like.
Okay. Yeah, very interesting. And so,
now
go ahead.
Infinitesimal dosing comes in. I'm going to explain what homeopathy is. You're the listener, I thought, about how homeopathic remedies are made. So we use the law of like cures like, but the actual medicines that we use today are diluted. They're very diluted. So what we'll do in order to make the medicine from allium cepa is we take an onion, we take one drop of the onion, and now we'll start with a tincture. I'm not going to go into all the details of that, but it's basically a liquid version of the actual onion. We take one drop of this, we put it into 99 drops of water, and then it goes through a series of secussions, which is being hit in a certain way. So there's like a force applied to it. And then we take one drop of this and we put it into 99 drops of water. So you see it's been diluted twice now. It goes through a series of secussions, dynamizations we call them. And then one drop of this is taken into 99 drops of water again. So you see how it's very, very diluted, but there's secussions between each dilution, which is what makes it a homeopathic medicine. And so the actual medicine that people are taking has gone through this process, which makes it, of course, completely non-toxic. And your listener was talking about how it initiates the healing response of the body at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah. So I don't, let me know if this makes any sense. I'm trying to process this and kind of think it through in my own way to make sure that I understand it. So I can understand how, like food helps in our healing. So as you're talking about, okay, so the running eye, the runny nose and the eye, watering eyes and all of that, like, so that would make sense to me if you say, okay, so you eat a slice of onion and that's like cures like, that's going to help you out. But this dilution, so you're diluting this little bit of onion down so small and you're just taking this tiny, tiny bit, and that is going to be helpful. Is that right? Am I thinking about this the right way?
Yeah, so the way that Hahnemann invented this was because at the time that he was practicing medicine, they were using things like arsenic and mercury in their actual doses to try to cure different things. So what he was finding was that at the same time as these medicines were, well, at the time they were medicines, they were helping people, they were also poisoning them. So he had to find a way in order to make it non-toxic, to reduce the side effects, but still have the healing effect. And I can explain more about how those effects are known.
Okay. Wow. Awesome. All right. So when we get back, we're going to go further. We're going to go deeper into this topic of homeopathy. We are going to address the New Age concerns a little bit more. Some of you did ask about that. Also, another concern, the two main concerns I would say would be that, and then another would be about scientific evidence. So we'll ask Emma about that as well. We're going to get into your experiences as well. So call if you want to share your experience, 1-877-511-5483. We'll be right back.
Heaven is our home. That's the theme of our 2023 Fall Appeal, currently underway. Hi, this is Jim Wright, president of the Station of the Cross. I love the theme of this appeal because it summarizes our mission. Yes, we want to make the world a better place, and we want to fight the evil that surrounds us. But all of our efforts are ultimately about helping people reach heaven. The most gratifying part of our work is the feedback from the listeners who have returned to the Catholic faith and started to receive the sacraments again. And it's all made possible by you. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for your past support and graciously ask for your continued support. Please call 1-877-711-8500 or visit thestationofthecross.com. Use the donation page from your iCatholic Radio mobile app or return the envelope from one of our recent mailings. Your generous donation will help others to reach their heavenly home, a priceless treasure that will last for all eternity. Thank you, and may God bless you and your family.
Seasons change, and radio programming changes too. In an effort to offer you the best in Catholic radio, we're happy to announce our new radio lineup starting Monday, August 28th. Weekdays at 10 a.m., we'll bring you classic episodes of Mother Angelica. This allows Mother Miriam to fulfill her religious obligations and be with you more regularly now at 2 p.m. Weekday evenings at 6, we have an exciting new program entitled Ask a Priest Live, followed by Catholic Answers Live at 7 and Jesus 911 at 8, with the exception of Thursdays where The World Over with Raymond Arroyo remains in its 8 p.m. slot. That's Mother Angelica Classics at 10, Mother Miriam Live at 2, Ask a Priest Live at 6, Catholic Answers Live at 7, and Jesus 911 at 8, starting Monday, August 28th.
Wholeness in Healing Monday. Jim and Becky Havens here with a special guest today, Emma Banks. We're talking about Homeopathy 101. Emma is a Catholic homeopath, and so she's here to share some of her expertise with us. You can learn more at her website as well, emmabankshomeopath.com. But we want to hear your experiences. Do you have experiences with homeopathy? What are your thoughts, questions, comments? Anything that you'd like to share with us today, give us a call now, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. 5483. We'll also get to some of your responses from the survey this morning. And if you're not signed up for the survey and you want to be, just go over to thestationofthecross.com, go to the Simple Truth, scroll down, put your email address in there, and you'll get our Monday survey every Monday. It's a great way to be interactive with the show. But as we're asking people to share their experiences, Becky, why don't we start with you? What has your experience of homeopathy been?
Well, I don't know how I got introduced to it, actually. Probably somebody I knew or something I read up on. And I figured, well, why not try it? And I had a lot of success with it. So I just assumed, let's just keep doing this. And I used it for different things. I didn't use too many different remedies. I'm not super familiar with how to do it. But then I did have some pretty serious dental work done about a month ago. And on the way out, my dentist gave me like 4 or 5 different homeopath remedies. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've never been to a dentist where they're actually giving this to you. She must think it works too, you know? And so I tried some of them and they were really effective. Now, I don't know. It's so interesting the way it works, and they're very specific for specific things. And I think one was for like wound healing or something, or nerve pain. And I was having a lot of nerve pain, and it took it right away. And I was like, wow, this is really awesome. And I don't know the science behind it or why it was working, but I was open to trying it. So that was just a recent encounter for me that really kind of proved like there's something to this for sure.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. All right. We want to hear your experiences as well. Give us a call if you want to share them. 1-877-511-5483. 1-877-511-5483. I want to ask you about the New Age concern, that part of this. But first, you were sharing a bit in the first segment about what homeopathy is, how it works. Anything further you want to say on that?
Yes. So after we go through the process of that dilution and succussion, we actually, and often we do this 30 times. So it goes beyond what they call beyond Avogadro's number. There's not actually technically molecules of the original, in this example, onion left. But we take this substance, after we've diluted and succussed it 30 times, and we give it to a group of what symptoms they experience from taking the substance. So it's called impurance. And actually, Dr. Hahnemann was the first doctor. Well, the first blind medical study that we have recorded was done by homeopathic Hahnemann. So we go and we see. We get a group of healthy volunteers. They don't take this substance. They have dreams. A lot of homeopathy has to do with stress, dreams, psychological symptoms that come out, or different sensations and feelings in the body. And then we record this. And that's how we know what that specific medicine cures. And the nice thing is that homeopaths are doing this all over the world. And what we see is the same symptoms come up in all these different experiences worldwide. Experiments.
Well, all right. Emma Banks is with us, Catholic homeopath. All right. Well, this claim about somehow being connected to sort of like this New Age nonsense, we take that very seriously here, obviously. And so here are the ways some of the folks asked about it today in the survey. One said, I was recently told at a Catholic event that homeopathy is not okay to use by Catholics because of the history of the occult that is tied to it. In other words, when it works, it is not because of the remedy, but because of how it was prepared and by whom, which is why I have stopped using it. Do you have any thoughts on this? And then also, another said, I'm interested to know how you view homeopathy in the context of Christianity, New Age medicine, etc. I know homeopathy can sometimes be controversial among Christians because many consider it within the realm of energy medicine, although it often seems that those who are opposed to homeopathy are more supportive of traditional medicine and science, in quotes, and inclined to trust conventional doctors more than I personally am. I think the biological or chemical explanation for how homeopathy works makes sense, and I'm okay with not being able to prove it scientifically because ultimately, I think God made our human bodies very complex, and there is always a limit to what science will be able to explain. I've also continued to use it because I've seen it work so often, and I believe it is working on a purely physical level and not spiritual. And then one other person, in the way that they were trying to define it, again, they're using this term energy. This does make some red flags go up when you hear it described this way. This is how they defined it. They said it's based on the science of like heals like. If one understands the energy of a plant, the energy that our Lord put into the plant, and finds that it resonates with symptoms that the individual is suffering from, then it will help heal the body. Simply put, just the energy of a plant can help heal the body in ways that the physical plant would not. If the right remedy is chosen by a skilled practitioner, it can be like a miracle. So that definition kind of concerns me a little bit. But Emma, can you speak to this concern? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I actually got the chance to work in a homeopathic laboratory while I was in homeopathy school. So I can definitely speak to how the remedies are made, and we call them homeopathic medicines or remedies. And it's literally what I just described. So there's really nothing. It's actually very, very simple and quite easy if you have enough little bottles. So that's really all that goes into it. And I think that maybe where some people get mixed up is because a lot of people who are New Age do use homeopathy, and it gets mixed in that way. But homeopathy itself, I mean, it's made in a pharmaceutical laboratory like one would make any other drug under very specific norms. So there shouldn't be anything extra going into it unless the person, the specific practitioner is also a New Age practitioner, or that laboratory worker has extra thoughts, which can happen in any factory or any lab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. Yeah, one thing I'd like to throw in to the discussion too, one piece of input. This is from Father Gabriel Amorth. He's one of the leading exorcists of our time. He has since passed on, but in his book, The Devil is Afraid of Me, he writes this. He's asked the question, what is your opinion of homeopathy and Reiki? And he says, one cannot equate homeopathy with Reiki. Reiki, of course, is condemned. Homeopathy, when it is done with competence, is an alternative to official medicine and has the right to be looked at with respect and used with respect. I know many persons who are treated advantageously with homeopathic medicine. There is no danger when it is utilized by competent medical doctors and specialists because it is only a treatment based on herbs, that is, on natural materials. Therefore, homeopathy is respectable. So that's pretty good praise by Father Gabriel Amorth. Again, the book, The Devil is Afraid of Me. Anything else that you want to speak to on this? Specifically, is there anything to be concerned about? Could it be that there are certain types of homeopathic remedies that you would want to avoid that are created by certain types of people that maybe would be into New Age? Is there a way that we need to look out and be on guard for certain things within this field?
Yeah, unfortunately, as I've been looking more into this specifically this year myself, there are certain companies who have put together homeopathic complexes based on New Age principles. There are certain practitioners who do use New Age practices in choosing their remedies and with their clients. So I would say yes, it's something to look out for. It's hard because there's so many different people practicing in so many different ways, and there's no Catholic organization that's looking at homeopaths to see what they're doing. So I'm putting together a directory of Catholic homeopaths so that we have some people to go to who we know have the same principles as we do. But I would say yes, in terms of single remedies, I would suggest going to the bigger companies, because they have a less of a chance of it being a sort of a small group of people with a different idea, and more a chance of being run by pharmacists and people who are just doing the very basic actions.
Terrific. Yeah, Emma Banks is with us, Catholic homeopath. Again, her website, emmabankshomeopath.com. But you can call right now. Any question that you want to ask Emma, you can call in right now, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. The other big concern, one person kind of spoke to it in the comments I was reading earlier, but the concern with regard to scientific evidence for homeopathy, just, searching around the internet a little bit, it seems like there's a great many people who make the claim that there is no scientific evidence and that when it works, it's due to a placebo effect. Emma, is there any scientific evidence that you can point us to? How do you speak to this claim, to this concern?
Yes. In fact, if you have a place where I can link some websites, I can give you some scientific studies. In Cuba, in Brazil, in Belgium, it's part of the medical system. In Brazil, it's part of the medical system in several countries. So there are large studies on homeopathy.
Wow. Then I would say just by some brief searching around the internet, it seems like those who are making those claims that there's no scientific evidence, and they seem to be overwhelming in number. Any folks who are posting any links to any studies or anything like that, is there a reason why? Is there a reason why it's so overwhelming that there are so many against it, if there are, in fact, the studies out there?
I saw something interesting on a prominent homeopath website. They said that the two most controversial things on the internet were homeopathy and Jesus, and so we're in good company. So, I mean, I think I found that it's largely us in North America, in the US and Canada, who are most suspicious of this medicine, because it's like we can't fathom something that's outside of what our minds can or what we can touch, smell, feel. So it's so diluted, but then when we have people taking the medicine, it does have an effect. This is clear, this is repeated, this is empirical, we can repeat those experiments. So I think it's really because our minds can't stretch to believe in something, or to not believe, to believe that something can be true that we can't fully understand yet.
All right. Yeah, Emma Banks is with us, Catholic homeopath, emmabankshomeopath.com. Great opportunity to ask her a question if you wish. Also, when we get back, we want to hear experiences. Have you used homeopathy? Have you tried it? What was it like? What were the effects? Can you give us some more information? We'd love to hear it. The number to call is 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. We are also going to get to those survey comments on what did you use homeopathy for, and was it effective? All coming up when we get back. Stay tuned.
This is Jesuit Father Robert McTague, your daily host of the Catholic Current. Join me on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern to welcome Dominican Father John Paul Kern. We'll be talking about rediscovering the Rosary, a timely topic for the Solemnity of the Assumption. Join us on the Catholic Current on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, coming to you from the Station of the Cross and the iCatholic Radio mobile app.
Priests need to wear their Roman collars in public. The faithful, don't be afraid or ashamed to carry your rosary in public, to make the sign of the cross in a restaurant, praying grace before your meal. We need to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world. We need to shine in these ways.
Christianity is not a set of facts to be learned and accepted, but it is a life that must be lived. That it is a way of life. And so Christianity is not that I know X, Y, and Z, it is that I live X, Y, and Z.
That's Sermons for Everyday Living from 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern on the Station of the Cross.
The Station of the Cross is listener-funded, and we value your ongoing generosity. In this fast-paced world, it's easy to let your recurring donation slip due to something like a new address or a card number change. If you suspect that we might not have your up-to-date donor information, you can check with us during regular business hours at 1-877-888-6279 extension 104 or anytime online at thestationofthecross.com.
Welcome back to The Simple Truth. Jim and Becky Havens here, Wholeness and Healing Monday. Special guest today on this topic of Homeopathy 101. And our guest is Emma. And let me just see if I can find the information of her website, emmabankshomeopath.com. That's where you want to go for more information. Emma Banks, Catholic homeopath. We were talking about the concern about this, any connection to homeopathy and New Age. I really appreciate Emma's comments on that in the last segment. I think they were very helpful, very, very fair. I think the Father Amorth comments are also very helpful. I do want to speak to one other concern that I've seen with regard to this online. Some Catholic writers, speakers, I've seen that they've tried to really make a case that that homeopathy is New Age, and they seem to have some sort of an axe to grind against homeopathy. It doesn't seem to be really fair and open-minded. And one reason why is because they cite this text. It's called Jesus Christ, the Bearer of the Water of Life, a Christian Reflection on the New Age. It's a book that was put out by the Pontifical Council for Cultures back in, I think it was 2003. And there's a portion in here where they do name homeopathy. One time they reference it, but this is how they reference it. They simply say, advertising connected with New Age covers a wide range of practices as acupuncture, biofeedback, chiropractic, kinesiology, homeopathy. It goes on to talk about massage, meditation and visualization, nutritional therapies. Goes on to say other things as well, things that are clearly tied up with New Age, like reincarnation therapies, but then also things that clearly are not necessarily tied up with New Age practices at all, like meditation, for instance. There is Christian Catholic meditation. In fact, we better be meditating each day on the life of our Lord if we truly want to be a disciple of our Lord. So this list is not saying everything connected here is New Agey. It's just saying, like, yeah, be on guard. Sometimes, there's some of that is connected in certain ways that people present this or use this. So be aware of that. That's simply what it's saying here. But some people will take it and say, well, it says in this text that the Vatican put out, it connects it to New Age practices. And it's just a lie. It's just unfair to present it that way. That's not the way this text actually presents it. So, that's just something to be aware of. You may come across that. But the number to call in, if you want to call in any question for Emma, any comment, anything you want to share about homeopathy today, 1-877-511-5483. That's 1-877-511-5483. And let's go to the phone lines now and get Michelle in here with us. Michelle calling in from Massachusetts today. Michelle, what's your comment or question today?
Hi. My question is, my son has very bad OCD that started up during the pandemic, and it's prevented him from returning to college. So he suffers greatly on a daily basis with intrusive thoughts. And I'm just wondering, so far, any of the typical prescriptions by his doctors have not helped at all. So I'm just wondering if there is a homeopathy remedy for OCD.
All right. Thank you for the call, Michelle. Go ahead, Emma. What is your thought on that?
What's interesting about homeopathy is that we'd actually talk with your son about what thoughts he's having, what his experience was during the pandemic, how it affected him, anything else that are major stressors or triggers in his life. We'd also look at his health history. We'd look at if he has any physical ailments, and we would base his homeopathic medicine prescription on that totality. So in fact, we don't give a medicine for OCD or a diagnosis like migraines or arthritis or anything like this. We actually give the remedy based on the person's susceptibility to that, so their experience of it. So yes, there is homeopathy to help.
All right. Very
Absolutely.
good. Michelle, are you still with us? Okay, I think we lost her. But thank you for the call, Michelle, today, calling from Massachusetts. We appreciate that. If you want to call in any question or comment, 1-877-511-5483, 1-877-511-5483. We did ask the question in the survey, if you have used homeopathy, what did you use it for? Was it effective? Here are some of the comments. One said, I use homeopathy for just about anything. Another said, I used it a lot when my children were toddlers and it worked really well. Another said, I have used homeopathy for many, many physical and emotional issues and it has almost always helped me and my family. Another said, my parents did when I had chest colds. Another said, for pain, for cramps mostly. Another said, I first saw a homeopath after being diagnosed with Lyme disease many years ago. I believe it did make a big difference in my healing. I started learning more about it and using it more regularly after having kids, and have had much more success with treating both acute illnesses like colds, and also have worked with a homeopath on a constitutional treatment for myself and one of my kids. The first time I had COVID, my symptoms came on suddenly and relatively severely. After suffering for several hours with acute symptoms like fever, chills, and pain in all my joints, plus a toothache, I reached out to my homeopath. He recommended a remedy. I took one dose, fell asleep shortly thereafter, and woke up in the morning virtually symptom-free. So that's an incredible testimony right there. Becky, I know, let me get you in here. I know that that when we had COVID and we had it pretty seriously, I know you gave all kinds of different things, I think. I'm not even really sure what was going on there. But did you use any sort of homeopathic remedies during COVID for us? I wish we would have taken the one dose of whatever the listener took here, and they wake up in the morning virtually symptom-free. That's incredible. But Becky, what was your experience? Did you use any homeopathy in that time?
Yeah, I don't know if I gave you any of it. I didn't realize how bad it was because I didn't get it for a few weeks after. And once I had it, I was willing to try anything. So I was just pulling things out, and I ended up using arnica. I don't know why I chose that. It was maybe because I had such severe muscle aches, more than I've ever had before. And I took it and I was like, oh my goodness, maybe I'm over the hump. Maybe I'm feeling better. And then I remembered that I had taken the arnica, and it was the only thing for at least 3 days that took the edge off of those body aches. I mean, it was, I can't really say that it was some kind of placebo effect. I really feel like it was true, and it was helping me to get through that. And I just feel like here in the United States, like you were saying earlier, Emma, we seem to be the last to pick up on things, you know, even when it comes to ingredients in our food and our personal care products. We're usually the last people to start banning things, and we have things that are just unacceptable to other countries. And so this is foreign. I mean, we hold on tight to our conventional medication and our diagnoses from doctors, and it's really hard to stray from that. And so I think it will catch on eventually. I think when you talk about energy, people get nervous, but obviously energy is not a bad thing. You know what I mean? I think it's when people take it out of context and use it in a different way. And so when it comes to the new age stuff, you know, I think it's similar to getting a massage. So a massage in itself is not a bad thing. But if you have somebody who's your masseuse and they're putting Reiki on you, and I know this has happened to somebody, and they didn't tell them until afterwards, and they said, oh, well, I really tried to find your energy. And by the way, I did a Reiki treatment on you. And she was like appalled because she had no idea that was happening, because I guess they don't have to disclose that. Usually they want you to pay for it. So usually they do tell you, but it's not that the massage in itself was evil, but what the person did to that person was wrong. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying when you share, Emma, about how, a practitioner might practice in a way that is contrary to our faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Emma, have you heard a lot of stories like this with regard to COVID? What a time we went through with that mess. What was being a homeopath like during that time?
Oh, I had a little kid, so I didn't get to participate as much, but worldwide, we were able, right at the beginning, we were able to treat people for this fear of the disease, because even before it came to North America, we were afraid, right? So we were able to treat people, and you know how if we're in a state of fear, our health is not as great as if we can be in a state where we're more relaxed and we're more open to different situations happening to us. So we were able to start with homeopathy right then. And actually millions of people used homeopathy worldwide for symptoms of COVID, with excellent success, as we heard the example. So it was nice because we were able to people were able to have remedies at home and start using things even when we didn't have as much in conventional medicine that could be helpful for COVID. In homeopathy, the symptoms were ones that we already had seen before in different things. We had information coming in from all over the world with different homeopaths, discovering different remedies for different aspects of the illness. So we're able to share information that way. So I think that people really, really as a whole benefited during that time, as well as, during the pandemic restriction, we were able to work through those more psychological distress states as well. So that was something that I was able to more work with in Canada, was the clients that I already had going through this huge isolation period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting. Can you talk a little bit more about this aspect of, I'm picking up, if my sense is right in the various things that you've been sharing throughout this program, that there's a psychological aspect to this, which again would seem a little bit odd, because normally if we go to a conventional doctor, they're just talking about usually our physical symptoms. They're not going to be getting into our psychological states and what were you thinking and what did you feel about this experience. But it sounds like homeopathy kind of goes down those roads a little bit more to try to figure out what needs to be done. Can you speak to that aspect of things?
Yes, absolutely. We see the person as a whole, an interconnected whole. So we don't see any symptom isolated from any other symptom. We see the person as a whole. So if you have something going on in your wrist, it isn't isolated from what's going on in your mental emotional state. And the remedy that's going to help you is going to cover all of those symptoms. We know that chronic disease, most, 95, I don't know the exact statistic, but it's over 90% of chronic disease is caused by stress. And the difference between acute and chronic disease is acute disease is something that happens over a short period of time. There's a specific event. Like, for example, I go outside in the winter, it's cold, I'm not dressed properly, and I get a sore throat, and then I go through the sore throat, it's over. So that's an acute event. A chronic disease is, say I go outside in the cold, I'm not dressed properly, I get a sore throat, but then I talk on the radio every day for my job, and I keep talking and I don't give myself a rest, right? And then something sort of keeps developing there, and it doesn't have the chance to heal. So anything that continues on like that is chronic, and anything that continues on like that has a psychological element that needs to be addressed, even these seemingly only physical manifestations of disease.
Very interesting.
And when we're able to find that dynamic, we're able to cure the person, because then there's nothing keeping that disease in them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And look, now this does connect very clearly with the whole purpose of this show, which is to cultivate the health of the whole person, mind, body, and soul. And it does seem to line up in this way very well with the Catholic faith and the way that we would view the human person and to understand the human person. So this is very fascinating. Again, Emma Banks, Catholic homeopath, is with us. EmmaBanksHomeopath.com is the website. One final segment to go when we come back. Any questions, comments for Emma, anything you want to get across today on the show, 1-877-511-5483, 1-877-511-5483. We're going to be right back. Stay tuned.
This is Life News Radio. I'm Jim Anderson. Recent Nebraska legislation sought to protect human sexuality in restrictions on both abortion and gender therapies. While opponents say this violates state constitution prohibition against multiple topics in one law, a judge Friday disagreed and refused to put a halt to the law's enforcement. Such rulings typically show that plaintiffs have a poor likelihood of success in court. A Wall Street Journal article is telling how, in the recent anti-Catholic FBI investigations, rigorous agency standards essentially gave way to reliance on open-source media allegations. And claims of any therapy effectiveness are rooted first in laboratory tests. Abortion pill reversal is essentially progesterone replacement therapy, a reversal of the effect of abortion pills. Long story short, laboratory tests now show 81% effectiveness in saving pregnancy after mifepristone by replacement of progesterone. This is Life News Radio. Suicide critics say quality of life myths used to justify other persons' deaths are rooted in profound misunderstanding of those impaired by disability or injury. The suicide or medical assistance in dying option that has taken hold in Canada is now a business in California, seeing 63% growth in that state's most recent report. Critics also point out that underreporting of assisted suicide deaths and abuse of the law is covered up by the reporting system. And pro-life advocates monitoring an abortion business in Georgia have uncovered how the state heartbeat abortion ban saved one woman's life. A required ultrasound before an elective abortion detected not only a fetal heartbeat, but that tragically the child was in a futile ectopic pregnancy. A prompt 911 response underway as the tube ruptured means the mother's life was saved. For pro-life headlines delivered to your email address daily, sign up at lifenews.com. This has been Life News Radio.
Back to the Simple Truth, Wholeness, and Healing Monday. Our topic today, Homeopathy 101. Jim and Becky Havens here with our special guest today, Emma Banks, Catholic homeopath, and her website is emmabankshomeopath.com. You can get your question in right now. Last chance to get a call in, 1-877-511-5483. Becky, I know you've got a question. What do you want to make sure to ask before we wrap up today?
So I think sometimes people hear what you just shared, Emma, and kind of want to make sure that that's not the same concept of as like Chinese medicine, like the meridian and the qi or whatever it is, the QI. You know how Chinese medicine really focuses on like, well, if this part of you is an issue, it's got to be from this part. Or I've seen teeth charts that if this tooth is in pain, well, you probably have like you're going to get breast cancer or something like that. I don't know. I know some of that does have scientific basis, but also I know a lot of it is based in the Chinese medicine, and they go a lot deeper with the that's where kind of the Reiki comes from. And now I'm not saying like, I think it's good because I think your whole body is connected. Obviously, if you're struggling with some kind of stressful event, you very well could be having symptoms. And here, in, like we shared earlier, in the United States, you don't really look at the whole body. This is my symptom. Okay, I'm just going to address that. But there's a reason why that's going on. Something else, it should be a whole body approach. So just for people who will probably want to make sure that it's not connected. This is not connected to the strange new age stuff like we were talking about before, but specifically like the Chinese medicine stuff of the Eastern, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It took me a minute because it's so separated in my mind, but I see I see what you're saying. So in those kinds of charts, like with the Chinese medicine and this tooth means that and that kind of thing, it is, well, I don't know so much about it, but when they're talking about that, it's like the same for everybody. This tooth equals this problem equals that. In homeopathy, we see every person as an individual. So me having a problem with my left wrist and you having a problem with your left wrist and someone else, another stranger having a problem with their left wrist, it's going to have a different meaning for each of us. And it's that individual meaning that we're looking at. It's that individual's experience of the world and what it means to them, that problem with their left wrist, and what's unique to them that we're going to look at in homeopathy. So I'm not going to match someone to a chart that already exists for the population as a whole. So that's how it is in the theory. And then, there's so many of these different types of practices out there. And I think that certain homeopaths have probably tried to bring them together with homeopathy. And so maybe if you're looking online, you are going to find some sort of correspondence. But if you have a homeopath who's actually using their training as it was intended, they're not going to be making those connections. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very much. Thank you.
All right, great. Let's go to the phone lines. And now we've got Michelle from New Hampshire with us. Michelle, what is your question for Emma today?
It's two questions. The first is regarding which companies you would recommend for homeopathic use versus, the small companies that you were talking about you might want to stay away from. And the second is with regards to back to the energies that these remedies have. And from my knowledge and some of the research that I've done, that you can't have them near any kind of electronics, EMFs, anything like that, because it will negate the energy that's in the medication. And how, what do you know about that? How do we know that that actually happens, and how do we prevent that?
Yeah, great question. So I recommend in the United States, Boiron, Boiron. It's the biggest company, and they produce large amounts of remedies, and it's all using pharmaceutical conditions. It's my understanding that in the United States, the norms are actually very strict for production of homeopathy, so it shouldn't have the actual production of the medicines should not have anything new age going on, because they have to use these standards and regulations that are enforced by law in the United States. The problem comes in some of these companies. Unda is one of them. There's the Unda numbers. They also produce cell salts. I don't remember the name of their cell salt line, sorry. But they have put the remedies into combinations according to New Age principles. So when you're going to the pharmacy and you want to buy a complex, which is a combination of remedies, several remedies in the same bottle for like coughs and colds, Boiron is fine. It's good. Highlands is a Catholic company, even better. So if you see Highlands, get Highlands. If you see Unda, stay away from it, because they've put those remedies, they've decided on which remedies they're going to put in together in that bottle according to anthroposophical and according to New Age principles. So those are a few of the companies. I'm realizing as we're having this conversation that I really just need to put a list out there publicly. For your second question about electromagnetics, this is something that's commonly said. I've never had a problem with it myself. I've taken remedies traveling through the x-rays they have at the airport. I've taken them. I set remedies next to my computer. I've set remedies next to smart meters. I haven't had a problem myself. Oh, next to modems, which no one should be sitting next to, but I've had remedies next to them. I haven't had a problem with it. Although I'm sorry, I'm not actually sure where this recommendation comes from. I'm sure it must have happened in the past to to some people. And so they're just warning against it to make sure that your remedies are in the best conditions. What I would recommend is not to keep them in sunlight, or not to keep them over, I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius, it's 40 degrees.
All right, great. Yeah, thank you for the call today, Michelle. Very helpful. And also a couple other comments came in. One was a dear Catholic friend has used homeopathy for herself and her children. For her, it was a better option than available drugs of uncertain source or substance. Another says credible alternatives, augmentations to medicine as currently practiced are very much needed. Mary in Buffalo, New York, wanted us to have this reminder. She says, a reminder that homeopath is medicine and needs to study, or homeopath is medicine, needs to study correctly to use them. This isn't something that should be taken lightly and just used willy-nilly. It is very effective when the medicine is well chosen through knowledge and study of the medicines, as well as observation and reassessment every 8 weeks in chronic cases. In acute pathology, the medicines are only used a short time until very much better, then it is stopped. This is just a generalization, but again, there must be some knowledge before utilizing homeopathy. And then another said, why are homeopaths so hard to find? And so all that, I'd like to ask you, Emma, as we're wrapping up here, for folks who are just trying to maybe figure some things out on their own and then order some of these remedies on their own, how important is it for them to be talking to a homeopath who really is very knowledgeable, especially if there's the psychological side that needs to be considered? And then if that is so important, why are they so hard to find, especially a Catholic homeopath that you could be sure is going to avoid the New Age stuff, guide you in the right direction? Again, anything you can do to point us in the right direction here.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It's the psychological element. So when there is a psychological element and it's something that's been happening over a longer term, then it is recommended to see a professional, because they're going to take into account that whole person and find them a remedy that suits them. And they're also going to look and make sure that the person is taking the right remedy, because remember, these remedies, they cause the same symptoms that they cure. So if taken over a longer period of time, if you're taking the wrong remedy over a longer period of time, you can develop it's not toxic, but undesirable effects. So a homeopath is going to be able to take in your whole person.
This is Nathan Wigfield, Executive Director of the St. Thomas More House of Prayer, a Catholic retreat center in Cranberry, Pennsylvania, with the mission of praying and promoting the Liturgy of the Hours. The Catholic Church teaches that when we pray the Liturgy of the Hours, we join the prayer of Christ Himself. It is the perfect sacrifice of praise that extends every Eucharistic celebration into the hours of the day to sanctify time in the whole range of human activity. To learn more, please visit us or go to liturgyofthehours.org.
It is a scientific fact that life begins at fertilization. Every human being is